Welcome to the GB4 Championship as we embark on the second half of the season. Of course, the GB4 Championship, a brand new championship this year from MSV. And this is where it all started. The very first race was here at Snetterton. And I just want to take you back and show you the season so far in the GB4 Championship. And I remember this day being very, very cold indeed. Obviously the first round of the new GB4 Championship, the brainchild of Jonathan Palmer from MSV. A cheaper and easier way for a lot of drivers to get onto the grid. Some of the drivers we're seeing here may not have raced if it wasn't for GB4 being a thing. That is, you know, how successful this has been so far this season, with some of the other championships costing a lot more money. And this is the man himself, Jonathan Palmer there, just watching his brainchild come to fruition as we got started with the drivers getting briefed for the very first time for the first race.
For the first ever round in the GB4 Championship, the 2022 season about to get underway. I think there was a little bit of a crawl on the grid as well from Jack Sherwood. We'll see how that one folds. We are underway here at Snetterton. There's a staller as well in the background. First ever race in the GB4 Championship here in 2022 is going to go to Vortec Motorsports and Nicholas Taylor. What a way to start the season.
And an incredible start that was for Nicholas Taylor, not having very much driving experience at all, coming straight into this car and doing fantastically well. Some struggles with the starts, which did plague him as we move on to Alton Park here. Also good to see Megan Jilks winning that first race by a female driver back at Snetterton. A couple of very good looking men I just saw on the screen there. And this is Megan and Nick Jilks racing in GB3 and GB4. Obviously this is the first time that GB3 joined the championship, so we had both running side by side. A lot of friends and family. Just saw Nicholas Taylor's brother Chris walking around there. Obviously Gareth Ruberski there, a driver in his own right, father of Jared Ruberski. And we can see last minute preparations going here as things got started. Nicholas Taylor on pole there at Alton Park. But as I mentioned, not a good start from him. You can see him getting overtaken by several cars there. The start's really something that Nicholas Taylor struggled with. It took him a little while just to get used to those. And it really held him back. I mean, imagine where he'd be in the championship if the starts were nailed properly from the first race. But anyway, he did get things sorted. But it was all about Alex Walker here at Alton Park, winning the first race, taking the second race as well. And as you see there, Jared Ruberski, the South African, taking that third race win in the reverse grid there. As we move on to Silverstone, a lot of the drivers very much looking forward to racing here. There was a real buzz around this track. And there's Nick Jilks supporting his sister Megan. As I say, Nick racing in GB3 while Megan competes and does very well in GB4. We see the cars going out there, her teammate Max Maserati, the man, the myth, the legend, Christian Lester there, watching our live coverage, which is very good. I mean, maybe getting a few tips there, seeing what the other drivers are saying about their plans for the race. As we see this, well, I mean, this really was a Nicholas Taylor masterclass, really, taking both race wins in the normal grid race. The reverse grid race was actually won by Lucas Romanek in his first weekend driving in the GB4 Championship. Amazing to see how quickly he got to grips with this car. And yeah, as I say, Nicholas Taylor really getting those starts nailed. And you can see, we were saying this all weekend, if only Nicholas Taylor can get that clutch control perfectly done. And Piers Pryor, our co-commentator, was saying, you know, it's very much like a normal road car. And Nicholas Taylor, 16 years old, he's not driven a normal road car, so it took a long time for him to get used to that. But once he nailed those starts, he really got there. We can see Logan Hanna there, absolutely in floods of tears, finishing second, the first podium for Graham Brunton Racing, happening at Silverstone, and I think emotion got the better of her there. She actually went on to do a little bit better at Donington Park, and she didn't seem anywhere near as emotional. So it was obviously that first podium there for Logan Hanna that really got her. Donington Park, of course, there's a bit of advertising for Ryanair right next to East Midlands Airport, and really exciting racing happened here. Racing came in for this with Danny Harrison and Daryl De Leon. You can see some very attractive men again there chatting to Danny and Daryl. And Max Maserati was really hopeful here to get a win. He's still not had a win, although he's been very consistent, Mr. Consistency. Didn't get it, but his teammate Megan Jilks did win the second race of the weekend. That's the first race win for her, not in a reverse grid race, so she's done fantastically well. Nicholas Taylor winning the first race of the weekend. And I won't spoil it, but there was another female who won the reverse grid race here at Donington Park. and as I sort of mentioned there, not quite the emotion we expected from her, but she was certainly very happy. As we see the action out on track, some fierce racing as we've seen all season in GB4. I mean, I don't want to be a favourite here, but I think we've actually seen some more close wheel racing in GB4 than we have in GB3. It's been fantastic so far this season. And we see Lucas Romanek not involved in this round. He was involved in Silverstone. And a few drivers sort of dipping in and dipping out while they do other championships. And that is how accessible the GB4 Championship is. It really is something that a lot of these drivers are fitting in around other commitments. We see Max Maserati here, a very famous clip here, trying to teach the other drivers how to spray the champagne. You've got to remember different age ranges. Max Maserati in his early 20s with Nicholas Taylor and Jack Sherwood. Sorry, not Jack Sherwood, that there is Darryl De Leon. A little bit younger, so let's be honest, they're probably not used to spraying champagne in their private life, so when they have to do it at work, they do need some help from the master. There we go, Darryl De Leon doing incredibly well for Valor Racing as well. His first weekend racing the GB4 car, getting third place on the grid, as we see Nicholas Taylor celebrating with his family. Really nice to see family supporting a lot of these drivers. Nicholas didn't start out with many family here, we just saw Chris, his brother, at the start of it, and as you can see there from the grid, family everywhere. And here's Megan Gilks, after Megan Gilks won round 11 with her dad there, Brent, live in Canada, comes over for every race, very dedicated father. And here she is, Logan Hannah, winning her first race, the first race win for Graham Brunton Racing. There she is, look, she looks absolutely fine. She had a red face round at Silverstone, but absolutely fine there. And this is one of her little fans here who was just absolutely blown away by seeing two female winners in the last round of the championship. So Nicholas Taylor is the championship leader as we go into the second half of the season. 269 points for the Fortec driver. Then Max Maserati behind him, 257 points in the hill speed. He starts in fourth place today. Alex Walker, who's the third place driver, has severed ties with Elite Motorsports and he's not racing this weekend. So that's an interesting one. We'll hopefully catch up with Nicholas Taylor and Max Maserati to find out whether, you know, the one guy that's been up there with him for the first few races, him not being involved today, questions over whether he'll compete for the rest of the season, whether that will affect them and how things go for them. And Jared Ruberski, starting third place today, he's fourth in the championship, 218. His teammate Tom Mills starting second for his dad's team, Kevin Mills Racing. And Piers Pryor, looking at these guys here, I mean, Tom Mills showing some exceptional pace in that qualification, and obviously Nicholas Taylor just even further down the road.
Yeah, of course, Nicholas Taylor, double pole, he'll be very happy with that. He's shown excellent pace so far this season and showing that once again in the qualifying session earlier on. He'll be very happy. The Kevin Mills Racing cars, second and third, they've done really well. They've obviously found a bit of time in their car, and Tom Mills executing qualifying excellently with was it second and a third, I believe. He's got in the next two races, and Jared Ruberski, another top three in qualifying, he'll be very happy with that. Then we've got the two hill speed cars, lacking a little bit of pace compared to potentially than they have been previously, but they'll be hoping to fight forward in this race.
And we can see behind it's not only fans that are watching here, we've also got the teams, we've got a lot of their families will hang out, and you know, and we can see, especially with Nick Gilks and Megan Gilks. Nick Gilks is always around, giving Megan Gilks the last bit of, the last bit of insight into the track. He's obviously been out there on the track a little bit more than Megan, so maybe in fact, he didn't make it onto there, so maybe they've pretty much done the same amount of laps. But he would have been giving her some insight, let's say. But it's good to see, we've got the members of the families of Chloe Grant there as we look back at the Graham Brunton Racing with Laser Tools team. Very much, a very much family affair, as we always mention here. I'm just looking around here, and we've got Tom Mills' sister, and obviously Kevin Mills, Tom Mills' dad here, with him starting second, obviously giving some last-minute words of encouragement. And I find the assembly area is always, it's kind of like you have to be calm in that car. Well, there's nervous energy around from everyone around you. It's kind of like it's a strange situation, I imagine.
That's exactly it. It's just nervous energy all around. Everyone's apprehensive, waiting to go, but there's nothing you could do. You just have to wait for the green light to go. You hope the car starts, as we heard, and unfortunately, Nick Taylor in the previous, not Nicholas Taylor, Nick Gilks in the GB3 race.
Yes.
Flywheel issue meant that he couldn't start the race. So they're hoping that no issues crop up like that, because it's too late to do anything about it now. You can see they've all got these trundle packs around that they've got basically spare batteries in, just in case the battery on board the car hasn't got quite enough energy to.
Well, I was going to say, something you don't see is when the cars go out, as we'll see in a while, is that all the mechanics running afterwards with all these things pulling behind. Anyway, we need to just take a little break there. We can actually see them over my shoulder here. All of the Kawasaki's waiting to take all their spares away. Are we going to actually hear now from Nicholas Taylor and some of the other drivers? Me and Piers caught up with them after qualifying. Well, I'm getting deja vu because several months ago we were chatting here, Nicholas, and you had a double pole and then you went on to win the first ever GB4 race, and you've just got double pole today. So it's like history repeating.
Yeah, I mean, this track is awesome. I think I'm pretty strong here and the team is pretty strong here. So I think that is a good combination.
So in terms of the first race, do you think we're going to see history repeat itself in the race as well as the qualification?
I don't want to jinx anything, but hopefully, yeah. I mean, I think I've got my starts good enough. I just need to get into the lead at turn 1 and keep it for turn 2, and then I think it should be good.
In terms of like how you've developed as a driver since then, obviously, you know, it's no secret, we've talked about it before, that the starts were an issue, and once you got that nailed down, you know, you've gone from strength to strength. Do you feel that you've improved in any other sort of areas now you've had more time in the car?
Yeah, I mean, more time in the car is always better. I mean, I think looking at the times, I think the track was quicker at round 1 because it was a lot colder, but then again, the tire temps weren't coming in. So to beat my time for round 1 is pretty good.
Okay, well, Nicholas Taylor on pole position for this race and the second race tomorrow. That's 4 pole positions here at Snetterton, a track that you obviously love. And here's what some of the other drivers said after they went round in qualification. So Max, how was qualifying for you?
I mean, on the whole, I think it was actually quite good. Most circuits, you always want to be the first ones out. But here in Silverstone are the only 2 where you kind of don't want that because you need a slipstream. And I didn't have the toe because I was the first out the pit lane. So I did the best I could without that, which means 4th for both races, and we were like so close to being on the front row with Taylor. Like I think it was only like a couple hundredths in it. I mean, it was only 3 tenths to Taylor. So we'll have to see what we can do from that, but we know we can race around here, so we'll go for it and see what we can do. It'll be good fun.
You've got some good drivers ahead of you. Do you think you can maybe make up a couple of places early on?
Yeah, I think I can, but what I'm kind of hoping for is a pack race like Silverstone. Because the toe's so powerful here, I'm kind of hoping if Mills and Taylor can start mixing it up and then we all get involved, I think that'll be quite exciting. So that's more what I'm going to be hoping for, a good pack race between everyone.
How was qualifying?
Yeah, it was a challenging one for me. Not quite where I wanted to be, especially after the great result that we had at Donington. Just didn't really string it together in that session, so I'll be working hard with the engineers at Hill Speed to try and figure out what I can do better for the races. But starting 5th for the races, so definitely a position I can fight for wins from.
We got Max 1 place ahead of you. Is there going to be any fighting into that first corner, or do team orders suggest just stay out of trouble?
There's no team orders, no. Well, we're both sensible. I think we're the 2 oldest drivers on the grid this weekend, so yeah, we'll be keeping it sensible. And I know Max always gets good starts as well, so you know, I hope that both of us will be fighting up for positions higher than what we are at the moment.
Great qualifying for you, Tom. There, tell us about how it went.
Yeah, it was a good session. I got some good laps in early on, but then started to go away in the middle and we started dropping down the timesheets, but managed to get another good lap in right near the end. Me and Jared both improved on the last lap and put us 2nd and 3rd, so it's a great team result. We've had a few tough meetings, worked really hard. I can't thank the team enough, and we're 2nd and 3rd for both the races, so yeah, super happy.
Probably one of your best qualifyings of the season. What do you reckon made the difference?
Just loads of hard work. We've focused on getting my driving right, and we've changed both setups as well. Like, we're very different on setup wise, and we can both do times that similar, so yeah, it's great, and we've just worked really hard, really. So yeah.
Amazing, well done. What sort of things have you been doing with the driving to help you get the lap time?
Brake traces. I've been working on my brake traces, just making sure to get that first peak really well, and just being patient mid corner and not like picking the throttle up in the wrong places and stuff. Just all little things just needed ironing out, and it seems to have worked.
Brilliant, thanks very much, well done.
Like that, all the cars have gone. Just nice to hear from Tom Mills and the rest of the drivers there. Tom Mills starting P2. Let's find out how he gets on as we get this race underway. This is the GB4 Championship, and I'll hand over to your commentator, Lewis McLeod.
Yes, indeed. Thank you once again to John as we are rolling on the formation lap as we head into the second half of the season. A thrilling qualifying session that sees Nicholas Taylor back on pole position ahead of Tom Mills. Should be a frantic fight. Unfortunately, we are down to just 9 cars in the GB4 Championship, but trust me when I say the racing that we've had so far in 2022 has been more than exciting enough. We don't need a full grid of 30. Just 2 has been good enough. It's been absolutely insane over crazy rounds in the previous parts of the championship, but Nicholas Taylor will start this one from pole position and make it. This will be, from this point, this is his 5th pole position of the season. He'll start from his 6th one tomorrow in that Fortec Motorsports car. Tom Mills starting from his very first front row start of the GB4 Championship in 2nd position for Kevin Mills. Jared Ruberski will start in 3rd position, just one single position behind. Those two separated by just half a tenth of a second. And then a further half tenth back, you get to Max Maserati, who'll start from 4th place. And it's his fourth place start of the season. Megan Jilks starting from 5th with Jack Sherwood, who's looked fantastic all weekend so far over the Thursday and Friday practice. He'll start from 6th, expecting a little bit more from him. Logan Hanna and Chloe Grant for Graham Brunton Racing starting from 7th and 8th. And the final position on the grid will go to Jessica Edgar in the Fortec Motorsports number 17. Fortec, big, well, I was going to say Fortec sandwich, but then I get myself in trouble because it's certainly not. Fortec is the bread in this sandwich. And right now, on either end of the field, of course, we've got Nicholas Taylor and Jessica Edgar. Taylor's been just incredible so far this weekend. Has looked very fast, has been patient through the practice sessions on Thursday and Friday. Has been building himself up into this, and as soon as we get into qualifying, I mean, he said before, they were expecting realistically this weekend to be potentially slower than the very first race weekend that we had of the season, of course, a couple of months ago now. And in fact, he actually went faster than that session by just a tenth of a second, showing that they're constantly learning. They're always figuring out new ways of driving the cars, understanding how to go faster bit by bit, warming the tyres correctly, keeping in the rhythm, finding the limit. Of course, you know, it's not like in sim racing and stuff where you can bin it, hit escape and start again. If you bin it, you get, you know, a fair bill dropped onto your desk, and that would be suboptimal indeed. They'll head their way around Coram to start themselves on the grid. We're expecting this, with it being 18 minutes long, we are expecting this to be a 10-minute race, 10-lap race rather, sorry. That's exactly how it was when we went racing here before, and it's kind of one of those things with a championship like this where you get to go racing twice on a circuit, is that we kind of have a form book, but not really. It's kind of one of those things that's so very interesting with this, is that we went racing around here, of course, at the very start of the season. The first 3 races that we did in the GB4 Championship ever was here earlier on in the year, and the thing is it's how much all the drivers have learnt over that period. It's been such a process for these drivers to really figure their way into this world of motorsport, first times for the most of them racing in cars. This is what we are all super excited for. They'll line themselves up in the grid, and this will be round number 13. We are officially into the second half of the 2022 season, and it's been a thrill ride so far. It is Nicholas Taylor leading the championship on 269 points, 12 clear of Max Maserati, as we all head into place, ready to go racing once again. We'll put 18 minutes onto the clock, a very long hold on the grid as we're waiting for Jessica Edgar to line up into her spot, as we get ourselves ready for round 13 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Hold your breath, because the second half of the season is about to get underway. Nicholas Taylor will start from pole position with Tom Mills alongside on that front row of the grid, as we'll get ready to race our way down the 350-metre run down towards the first corner, and we'll go racing indeed, as it's a tight launch as Nicholas Taylor is leading cleanly. Tom Mills under pressure a lot from Jared Ruberski going around the outside of the first corner, but it is a great launch from Nicholas Taylor. The 2 Kevin Mills racing cars potentially pushing themselves off just a little bit, as the darting, ducking and weaving from Megan Jilks just trying to get around the outside. I think it might actually be Maserati.
Sherwood making a move up there, taking advantage of Jilks going slightly deep. Was that Jilks or was that
Maserati?
Maserati going slightly deep, but pushed also Jilks wide, so he's made a position there. That's a great start from Sherwood. Hopefully he'll be closing on the back of the other Hillspeed car in front.
Tom Mills having to defend a little bit from Ruberski, coming down to Agostini. Big lock up though from Nicholas Taylor. He's going to go wide, he's going to hook up that final apex. The thing is though, it's potentially going to, I don't know how aggressive it would be in this, but you'd expect a little bit of a flat spot there. It was quite a big lock up.
Yeah, definitely, with a flat spot that big at the start of the race, there is a potential for us, with a lock up that big at the start of the race, there's a potential for a flat spot. He should be okay, although he seems like he's not had the most clean first lap, with the 2 Kevin Mills racing cars staying right with him despite fighting amongst themselves.
Yes, indeed. Well, onto the Bentley straight once again, as it'll be obviously Mills trying to attack the rear end of Nicholas Taylor, and then, well, we'll race our way down that Bentley straight, 900 metres, or 800 metres rather, into the braking zone, going through Brundle and Nelson. They'll hook their way up. I'm kind of feeling, Max Maserati was saying this might be a bit of a slipstream race, and it's kind of these cars, they don't punch a massive hole, but it's enough with the 160 brake horsepower they have that they're able to sort of push themselves in on it.
Yeah, they carry a lot of speed in the corners, these GB4 cars with those Pirelli tyres, and with there being not a huge amount of power for the amount of drag they have, being open-wheeled single-seated with slicks and wings, the hole in the air that is punched by the first car makes a big difference. As you can see, Tom Mills gaining in the slipstream there. Is he even going to look for a move into turn one?
I think, oh, he was thinking the inside going into Richards. It's going all the way around the outside. It's nearly flat in the GB4 car, but that tight line that Nicholas Taylor's just taken there, I'm not so sure that would be an option for him. He's defending that middle part of the race. You've got to remember, this is Nicholas Taylor looking for his 5th win of the season. This is Tom Mills looking for his very first, and in fact, it'd be his first podium since we went racing in Alton Park many months ago.
That seems like a long time ago now. We saw Tom Mills, you know he can lead a race. We've seen him lead at Silverstone, of course, with that amazing start he had from, was it 7th place, I believe, at some point, or something like that. Come all the way through, and then, unfortunately, with engine issues at Silverstone, struggled to keep that position and ended up falling back down through the pack. But those issues with that Kevin Mills racing car seem to have been sorted, and a very strong weekend so far in qualifying in the first race for the Kevin Mills racing team, with them being 2nd and 3rd place.
He actually started that race from 10th place, all the way up to 1st place within 2 laps, or 2 or 3 laps.
Yep.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, Mills has shown that he can race. He showed it here when we went racing right at the start of the season. Kicked off the qualifying session, started from 5th, but ended up marching his way up onto the podium in that very first race of the season, but was actually 2nd coming down into the Wilson hairpin. The 2 Graham Brunton racing cars battling in the background. On the left-hand side, that's Logan Hanna bringing it back over to the left-hand side of the shot, right-hand side of the circuit. Chloe Grant's got to the inside, and the 2 GBR cars will switch over. The number 10 of Chloe Grant getting ahead of her race-winning teammate.
They're side by side. The team manager would never like to see their cars going quite so close down the straight, but it seems like they've settled back in. Although Logan generally has been the faster of the 2 drivers this season, it looks like Chloe Grant is getting well dialed in with this Snetterton 300 circuit.
Watch out for Jack Sherwood as well, who's trying to attack for 4th place. We're looking here at Ruberski. 1 position back from this is that 4th place of Maserati. He's got Jack Sherwood going around the outside. That number 78, the lone Elite Motorsports left in GB4 at the moment, sending it straight around the outside. He's absolutely committed. He's still alongside. He's got to commit though big time down into Wilson's. They're still remaining side by side. Maserati's able to hang on, but the up and under from Jack Sherwood, he's got fully alongside, and now it'll be a drag race up towards Palmer, and the number 78 just trying to drag itself clear. Maserati still alongside. The 2 will go side by side through Palmer, but Jack Sherwood completes the move, and I don't know about you, but I think he might have a cat named Jess, because Postman Pat has just absolutely sent it.
What a move from Jack Sherwood. We've seen that he's been very feisty in racing. He liked telling us about that outside move at the previous round. He did
so many good ones.
Yeah, very brave, sending it around the outside of Rich's, the first corner. That is not a move for the faint-hearted. And then a classic up and under out of Montreal, which sometimes doesn't work because it puts you on the outside for Palmer, but he got a good enough exit and that meant he could get around Maserati, and he's now cleared both of the hill speed cars in this race.
Got to say, it was he did it 3 times, not once, but 3 times back in Donington Park. He went around the outside of the Schwanzkopf to get inside the inside for McLean's, which of course that's not the circuit that we're talking about now, but what I can describe to you is that is a difficult move to do at the best of times, and he nailed it every single time. I would argue that at the moment Jack Sherwood might actually be, a bit of a bold claim, might be the best overtaker on the grid at the moment. Just those moves, the bravery, the ability to pull it off, and showing an example like this, it's just brilliant.
He's done so well to gain those positions. He'll try it now to chase down the next group, Ruberski. 1.2 seconds he's got to bridge in the next 12 minutes, so it's definitely doable, especially if the cars in front start fighting. We know those elite cars have had good pace at different points throughout the year, and hopefully he'll be able to use some of that pace to catch the front group.
Well, the top 3 have been able to pull away a little bit. It's the fastest lap of the race from Nicholas Taylor, our race leader, at a 1:50.0. We'll take a look once again at the race start, as it was quite a long hold, of course, waiting for Jessica Redger. Oh, it was a big jump. I didn't even see that. That is a big jump from Tom Mills.
That'll almost certainly be a penalty. In fact, realistically, if anyone's seen that, which they will have done because the marshals are right there, that unfortunately Tom Mills must have just had a twitch of the foot, which is easily done when you get held for a long time, but one thing you can't do is go out of that grid box that you're in before the lights go out, and even though he was stationary at the time of the lights going out, he was outside of his box, and that is deemed as an unfair advantage. I think very likely receive at least a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, there'll be a post-race penalty or even a drive-through at some point during this race. We'll wait for the notes from race control on that one. I do apologise, by the way, for missing that on the race start. We had a bit of a technical problem within the commentary booth, or we could just classify ourselves as somewhat blind, but you were definitely not at the screen because you were running our way over. Obviously, a nice middle distance runner once again is Pierce Pryor here, but clearly a good racing driver feat, because I did see Nicholas Taylor running around the paddock a bit earlier on. He's running away at the front of the field right now, coming around the exit of Brundle Nelson into Bombhole. Such a good corner when you hook it up right.
He's been the fastest driver all weekend and is now showing some of that pace. Last lap 50 flat, which is the fastest lap of the race, 4/10 faster than the next two, and then a whole second faster than Sherwood in fourth place. Granted, Sherwood was overtaking, but so he's showing that pace. Whether the two Kevin Mills racing cars can keep with him remains to be seen, but I think it looks like Taylor's going to check out if he continues with the pace he's had. Interesting to note, actually, I was on the assembly area with John Jackson. No drivers chose to take new tyres. Everyone on used tyres.
Yeah, no, I was actually having a really good chat about this with Nicholas Taylor. The two Graham Brunton racing cars will continue to battle it out over 7th place, both pulling clear of Jessica Edgar, who's had issues at the start of the race. But he was saying that there is a lot more strategy than even you think. We were kind of wondering. I remember when we said this at Silverstone, how they'd put tyres on what we thought was the wrong side of the car, and he was like, it's because they put it on that side of the car and then they move it over to the other side of the car for the next race. So they've essentially got, basically, as near as makes a difference, a fresh set for the final race, but you're still getting a little bit of a grip advantage. Like, there's so much to it, rather than just sort of like, we want to go slightly faster, we'll just change the tyres.
I'd love to know if that comes from any data, whether someone's tested it out with a whole set of tyres on a test day, gone, right, we'll try 2 new on the left, then 2 new on the right, and then see how that goes, and then do almost 3 race runs and find the time difference, because a lot of it can be people sort of trying stuff out and thinking, I reckon this, I reckon that. I'd love to know if anyone's actually tested it out, or whether it's all hearsay.
I mean,
they clearly believe in it. That's what they've gone for.
Love a bit of hearsay, but I mean, you've got to say, with that kind of stuff, it's not like in GB3 where you can, because how the tyres work and stuff. Obviously, they're warming up all the way through the qualifying session, so you need to be out there at the end of the qualifying session on some good laps. In GB3, you can kind of do 3 or 4 laps, come in, change the tyres, scrub the set, and so people don't know when you're taking fresher tyres, and that's what we've seen from Luke Browning and stuff. Some of the tactics they've been playing in that. In GB4, you can't do that. You've got to stay out for the entirety of the qualifying session. Coming out of the final corner now, this is halfway through the race. This is completing lap 5, and there we have a 10-second time penalty being delivered to Tom Mills. I don't think we're particularly shocked by that, but 10 seconds is slightly less painful than a drive-through.
Yes, of course. It's at this stage, it would still take him just behind Logan Hanna in 8th place. Whether he can extend the gap to those Graham Brunton cars, these 2 cars right here in the white and blue, to allow him to not have to finish in that lower position. If he can get past these 2, on time-wise, get past these 2 Graham Brunton cars, I'm sure he'd enjoy that. Whoa, big moment there for Chloe Grant, locking the rears into that corner. It's a very heavy braking zone, and changing down at the wrong time can cause that.
And that will assist Tom Mills in trying to pull clear of these 2 at the moment. They've been separated by very little this race, trying to put on a bit of a show at the moment, as Logan Hanna's not able to get past Chloe Grant on this occasion.
Although the gap is not between Tom Mills and these 2 Graham Brunton cars, it's not opening up that fast. Last lap from Tom Mills, a 1:49.8. Last lap from these 2 cars, a 50.4. So it's only 6/10. That gap is going to be close at the end of the race. So any fighting between these 2, or any fighting between Tom Mills and his teammate Ruberski, could decide where Tom Mills finishes this race, which could be important points for the championship going later on the season.
Yeah, big style. I wonder. This is the thing. They don't exactly. I mean, I know they have pit boards. They don't have radios or anything in this. There's none of that. It's just so they can communicate through the pit boards, which obviously would be communicated. But that's the only way that he can know. If he misses that on the start-finish straight, which I'm assuming, I can only judge from being a spectator, that looks really hard to be able to fly past, 100 miles an hour and try and read, hang on, car 20, is that me? What's happening?
It is very difficult to see especially the official warning flag. You can see a warning flag out there at the start-finish, well, you can't see, but there is a warning flag out there at the start-finish line now. I'm not sure who that's for. Potentially for track limits for someone, or it could be Tom Mills' penalty, but you're flying past her so fast, especially if you're only looking for your pit board. You make a mental note of where your pit board is and you look for that. You're not making a mental note to look every lap for the start-finish line, because you're not expecting yourself to get a penalty every lap, so therefore can become quite difficult. Okay. We see the Graham Brunton cars side by side once again.
Oh, super stuff. Logan Hannah around the outside into Riches, and she is now ahead of Chloe Grant. But Chloe Grant, of the two, a bit of a lock up there from Logan Hannah. She's gone straight in too deep, and Chloe Grant's come straight back through. The two of them squabbling like this is definitely going to assist Tom Mills with that 10-second time penalty. But it's got to be said, again, as this is a learning series and such, throughout the season, Chloe Grant has been the slower of the two in the Graham Brunton racing cars on a consistent basis. Logan Hannah's been a bit faster. The fact that she is battling with her teammate here and looking just as strong is a remarkable feat. It's a great turnaround for Chloe Grant. She's figuring things out so far as she moves forward. And not only that, but her teammate is now a race winner in the category, which should be a bit of a boost of confidence coming into tomorrow's race.
Yeah, it's great to see those two Graham Brunton racing cars with laser tools. They've come a long way since where they were at the start of the year. Their gap to the leaders in qualifying was way closer than when we were here at Snetterton for the first time. So they're learning themselves and they're helping each other, I'm sure, as well.
I think Tom Mills has lost a bit of time on this lap, which you can kind of see here. Nicholas Taylor, he's out by himself just a touch at the moment, and Tom Mills is being caught by his teammate, the South African of Jared Ruberski, who's closing in quite significantly for second position. The two Kevin Mills racing cars. This is Tom Mills that we're looking at here in the 21. Again, a 10-second time penalty being dished out to this car for a jumping of the race start. Do not count out Jack Sherwood, by the way, who is closing in, has set the fastest lap of the race, and if there are any mistakes like that one from Tom Mills, and he will be ready to pounce. I think he's a little bit too far back, but if these two squabble, he will be right there. Speaking of squabbling, speaking of teammates, we've got Hillspeed coming free shot in the red and white cars, and we've of course got Graham Brunton racing, Logan Hannah looking to the inside once again.
Yep. Sherwood, fastest on the last lap of anyone that last lap, once again a 49.7 as opposed to the leader, second fastest, a 49.8. So he's catching their front group, but not quite fast enough with only 4.5 minutes remaining. But he's doing an excellent job. That elite car is clearly working quite well. So expect to see Jack Sherwood up there potentially if he has a good start in the next couple of races tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, he's been looking fast this weekend. Thursday and Friday he was fastest in a couple of the sessions there. He's been building up on speed throughout the championship. Started out the season with quite a few, lower end of the top 10s, 8th, 7th. Did qualify 4th here, I will say, in the very first race of the season, but kind of struggled for speed consistently. Coming into this round, he has, of the last 4 races, has finished on the podium 3 times, has been really, really finding form. And with the penalty going to Tom Mills, well, that is going to become 4 races from 5, should there not be any mistakes. Whether he will know that or not is a very different thing, because as much as Tom Mills might have been looking out for that penalty board, I'm pretty sure Jack Sherwood wasn't.
He might, because you don't make the connection between the number on the board and whoever else it is, because you only really think about your own number, so it's quite difficult to just figure out who's got penalties, so it's unlikely he'll know, so it'll be a welcome but surprising podium for him if things stay as they are.
Yeah, absolutely. As they head through Coram once again, Taylor still leading fairly comfortably. This is heading on to the penultimate lap of the race. It's still expecting this to be roughly a 10-lap race, and with 3 minutes 20 seconds left and then running roughly around 1 minute 50s, then you can tell this is definitely going to be the second to last lap. So a couple of opportunities for Ruberski to try and get past his teammate of Tom Mills and get another podium in the championship.
Just looking at Jack Sherwood, he's really coming on strong in this sort of start of the second half of the season. He's got consistency of good results. He's getting pace consistently up there. He's the fastest driver in testing. Granted, not the best at qualifying for him. It didn't go as planned, but he's clearly got the pace in the race with the fastest lap of the race, setting another fastest lap by quite a margin, a 49.4, which is 3.5 tenths faster than the leader, Nicholas Taylor, last time. This is his first season in open wheel single seaters, having done just Ginetta Juniors last year. So a very different thing. So he's taken a while to bed into it, but it looks like he's got some really serious pace, and he could be a contender for the front runners by the end of the year if he can get those qualifying results in more consistently.
This is not me trying to bring in the commentator's curse. Definitely not. I don't believe in the commentator's curse. So sorry to drivers and teams on that one. But I will say, with Sherwood, is one of only 2 drivers to have finished. I know it's kind of it's definitely in this race because obviously we've only got 9 cars, and we've had 13 and such in rounds previous. But still, when it comes to finishing race, when it comes to retirements and still mistakes and stuff for the races, Jack Sherwood is one of only 2 drivers in the championship to finish in the top 10 in every single race of GB4 so far. Who's the other one?
Max
of course,
Maserati.
it's Max Maserati.
Mr.
It has
Consistency.
to be. It just has to be. Who is presently running in 5th place just here, ahead of his teammate in Megan Jill, second in the championship at the moment, mostly through just the most blistering consistency. But the thing is we've been speaking of Mr. Consistency in Maserati. We've not really been looking to the likes of Sherwood, who's actually been kind of delivering similar levels of consistency. Also, speaking of consistency, Nicholas Taylor was almost offended when I was speaking to him. I was like, yeah, well, you know, Maserati's Mr. Consistency. And he's like, yeah, but I've got as many podiums as him and I've got more wins and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but you've also got retirement, mate. It's like,
yeah.
Come on, come on. And then I showed him the results and he was like, oh, yeah, he has been consistent.
And won 8th place as well at the first round in round 3 at Snetterton, whereas Maserati, 4th, 2nd, 6th, 3, 3, 3, 6, 2, 4, 4. It's
Incredible.
Just metronomic. And again, another race here. If he finishes race now, another 5th place, top 5, great for his championship. And again, losing a little bit of ground to Taylor, but he's going to be right there. There was a bit of a question mark whether he would be at the previous round at Donington. He seems to have got some budget together to go Donington and now Snetterton. Everyone hopes that he can make the rest of the season, because it will be great to see him do so well.
Yeah, and the same with, of course, the likes of Elias Ardestam. Hopefully we'll see Christian Lester as well back. I did hear that Elias Ardestam should hopefully be returning to the championship in the next round when we head to Silverstone at the end of July. Of course, GB3 will go and race off at Spa, at the legendary Spa. GB4 will wait a week and then we'll go racing at Silverstone, the home of British motorsport, and we'll see who goes racing then. Elias Ardestam expected to potentially return to the grid. Christian Lester. We'll keep our fingers crossed as well for Alex Walker. Of course, we know there's been some issues within that camp coming into this round, and of course that is why Alex Walker is not with us, parting ways with Elite Motorsports. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll see him back in the GB4 Championship soon. Look at how close his battle for third is.
This battle for third is definitely closing up. Another fast lap on the previous lap from while we were chatting. Jack Sherwood, 49.4. He is banging those lap times in. He is now nearly a second a lap faster than the leader, Nicholas Taylor, who has been... He's got some serious pace. He can see the cars in front. That's really drawing him in. When there's a car in front of you, you know there's positions there, and that's where he thinks is a potential podium. He's already on the podium with Tom Mills' penalty, but here we go, over the line. Can he get a nice drag over the line or not?
Yeah, Nicholas Taylor's going to come across then to take his 5th victory of the season. It's Taylor once again, but who's going to be second? It's Mills, Ruberski and Sherwood across the line. Once the 10-second time penalty is dished out, it drops Mills down the order. Ruberski and Sherwood will be on the podium. Maserati will move up into 4th place with Megan Jilks in 5th. And I think Mills might actually drop behind Chloe Grant and Logan Hannah. Actually, the gap, by 0.3 of a second, he manages to just keep ahead of Chloe Grant. Absolutely incredible stuff. But this man, Nicholas Taylor, is there any stopping him right now?
He's doing so well. That is consistency of qualifying, always in the top 2, or almost always in the top 2, double pole. So if he gets another good start tomorrow, then there's no reason why he can't pull away. Although if Jack Sherwood continues to show that pace that he did last lap, Jack Sherwood 1:49.3. He was still going quicker at the end of the race, which was his last lap, another 0.6 faster than anyone else. So he's showing some excellent pace. He'll be hoping to have a good start tomorrow so he can show that off at the front of the grid. And he has got a podium now, which he'll be very happy with, but it will be somewhat a merit, but however, it did rely on a Tom Mills penalty, unfortunately. And Tom Mills will be very disappointed with that. I spoke to him, but after qualifying, he was very happy with his qualifying session. Said it was probably some of the best he's driven, and he's found it some time in the car as well. And just small mistakes like that can hurt your championship and race weekends.
I mean, like I say, it's kind of one of those things. But for Sherwood to have had the speed, to have found that kind of time, it does make you wonder if he's going to bring in that confidence into the next round. You can see at the bottom of your screen, fastest lap of the race to Jack Sherwood at 1:49.379. But it wasn't good enough for him to catch Nicholas Taylor, who wins the race once again, his 5th victory for the Fortec Motorsports team. Ruberski and Sherwood in 2nd and 3rd. Maserati and Jilks 4th and 5th. Double top 5 for Hill Speed once again, with Tom Mills dropped down to 6th after that 10-second time penalty, just keeping the 2 Graham Brunton racing cars at bay of Chloe Grant and Logan Hannah. Issues early on in the race for Jessica Edgar. drop her down the order. She started from 9th, she finished in 9th, but she was way away from the back of Chloe Grant and Logan Hanna, and of course a teammate who ended up winning the race by 1.8 seconds, making it yet another race win. Again, the consistency, you've got to speak of the consistency of the man himself, Max Maserati, with another 4th place finish. It'll keep him second in the championship, that is for sure, but the thing is, it's just not quite good enough to close down on the championship leader. 304 points is what Nicholas Taylor will have. It pulls out his championship lead by, I was going to say by a certain number, but then I don't actually want to say because it's commentator's maths and you shouldn't ever trust it. But Max Maserati's on 278 points, which is a fair way clear now of Alex Walker, who has dropped down to 4th place. He's now 3 points behind Ruberski, who now moves himself with that 2nd place finish up into the top 3. In the championship standings. There is Ruberski pulling into 2nd position, and clearly Jack Sherwood was made aware that he is actually on the podium, because he will line himself up in 3rd, and Nicholas Taylor will climb his way out of the car, but he can't figure out how to put the steering wheel back in. Good lad. He'll be either way, be out of the car and celebrating regardless. And it's just another good day. It's the 4th time this year that Nicholas Taylor has won the first race, has won the Saturday race, the first race of the weekend. He won it here at the very first race weekend of the season at Snetterton, of course. He won at the first race of the weekend at Silverstone. He won at the first race at Alton Park, and now wins the first race once again. Such a talented driver, such a future superstar, of course, to the world of motorsport. We'll keep our fingers crossed as to where he's going to go in the future, because I'm pretty sure it's quite hard. One of the joys of a championship like this is that we're talking about, we have the joy of talking about, but you have the joy of watching potential future superstars. Who knows where these drivers are going to end up when you look at the history of lower category formula such as this, of course, and all the other variants around the world. When it comes to this sort of level of motorsport, and you look at the list of drivers, you think, hang on, that guy was in that championship years ago, and you think, yeah, but they're now in Formula One, they're now racing in Le Mans and things like that. It's unknown as to where these drivers will head to, but one thing's for sure is they definitely have destiny moving forward in the world of motorsport. Let's carry our way over, because John Jackson is standing by with Nicholas Taylor.
We've got to stop meeting like this, Nicholas. I'm gonna let your. This is your mum, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna let your mum give you a hug on live TV, because that's what happens. Congratulations. I mean, a dominant performance from you there, and we kind of predicted that beforehand.
I don't think it was that.
I kind of predicted that beforehand.
Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah, quality was amazing. I mean, the car was amazing. I just wanted to get a good start and lead into turn 1, and which is what I did. So after that, I just tried to control it. I made a few mistakes, but I'll clean it out for tomorrow.
And you're on pole position again tomorrow. We saw how dominant you were in terms of qualifying, and the laps the first time we were here, but those starts weren't quite working for you. And I mean, now you've got that down. We're just seeing how good you are around this track. I mean, can you see anything other than a win? I mean, you're a confident guy.
I mean, as long as I get a good start, I think we can do it again.
Okay, and in terms of the cars around you that can beat you, obviously Max Maserati is second in the championship, but he's certainly not on the podium. He's a few cars back, so he's obviously struggling with pace a little bit. Yeah. Who else do you think can challenge out of the drivers here? I mean, Tom Mills was right behind you if it wasn't for that penalty.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can challenge. I mean, throughout testing, everyone was so close. I mean, I think quali, I just really nailed that lap, so I think anyone can challenge me.
All right, Nicholas, we'll let you go and celebrate with your team, and I'm sure we'll speak to you again very, very soon. We're just going to move over here and speak to Jared Ruberski. You finished, third in terms of the cars there, but Tom Mills, your teammate, suffering that penalty for the start there, so you must be pretty stoked to be second.
Yeah, no, good result. Yeah, I think we had more pace in the end, towards the end of the race then, so I think if we got past Tom, we could have maybe pushed a little more pressure on Nicholas towards the end. But yeah, no, good result. It's good to be back on the podium again. So yeah, definitely happy with all the hard work that the team have put in, and thank you very much to them.
It's exceptional. I mean, it's quite disappointing for the team, obviously, through one tiny little error, setting them back so far. So yeah, it's good that you shouted out Kevin Mills Racing there. So Jared, we'll let you celebrate with your father, who I've seen around someone there, and obviously Kevin as well. And we'll just move around here. Where is Jack Sherwood? Where is Jack Sherwood? We found him eventually. Jack, our cameraman is quite a way away there, so what we're going to do is we're going to do an interview at distance. Okay. How was that race for you?
Yeah, no, it was good. Kind of an average start, and
we got past the 2 hill speeds, one on the first lap and then one a bit later on, and then I just kind of got my head down. I could see the pack ahead battling, so I tried to pull up to that, and I think we were quite fast in that point. And then we kind of got onto the back of Ruberski a bit late. Just as I was coming around the last sector, we kind of really caught up to him. But no, I'm happy to be able to get a podium and kind of repay the boys a bit.
I was going to say, you don't have radios in these cars. We've discussed this at previous rounds. So were you aware that Tom Mills had that penalty? Because if you missed it on the board or on the flag as you went past, you may not have known. I mean, were you aware?
Well, I could see him running wide quite a bit in front of Ruberski, and I could see him kind of bouncing along a few of the curbs. But and I was kind of counting a bit the times. But no, I wasn't aware of the penalty until I kind of came there and I went to turn to go into the paddock and they pointed me here. But I could see we were fast. I had it on the board. I could see we were catching visually. But I thought, I caught to the back of Ruberski and I thought, well, it was a decent recovery. But no, we got the podium, luckily.
It's a nice surprise for you to get that trophy and get that fake champagne, which we'll let you go and get now. Jack Sherwood with Elite Motorsports there. Coming third, obviously Tom Mills there getting that penalty for the jump start at the beginning, as I'm sure Lewis mentioned just now. And speaking of Lewis, we're going to hand back to Lewis McGlade now as they take to the podium.
Wow, what a super trio of drivers. There is Nicholas Taylor feeling, well, looking pretty relaxed, to be perfectly honest. Got to say, with Jack Sherwood there taking another podium, obviously promoted to it after the issue from Tom Mills. That is technically, we really want to pull it as a 3-race record when it comes to the championship so far, because he finished third in the second race at Donington Park and then second, the third race at Donington Park and then third here. It's the highest points tally from 3 consecutive races in GB4. The only other driver that's managed 3 consecutive podiums was Max Maserati, but that was 3 third places, not a third, a second and a third. It is third place though for Sherwood, who will take to that third step of the podium. He'll be joined by Ruberski and then of course Nicholas Taylor, who will take to the top step after starting the race from pole position as he did just under 3 months ago here at Snetterton. Nicholas Taylor taking his 5th victory in GB4. He won the award from John Cavill, of course, a couple of weeks at the last round of the season, a few weeks ago back in Donington Park, which was for leading the championship at the halfway point of the season to give him a tour of the Red Bull factory, Red Bull Formula 1 factory, which will be on Monday. But there was also another award courtesy of John Cavill coming into this round, which was for the most poles of the season, and they'll get a tour later in, I think, July, around a different Formula 1 team's factory. We don't know which one as of yet, but I can tell you that Nicholas Taylor will be the one taking it after yet another couple of pole positions, taking his tally up to 6 so far in 2022 in GB3. I don't actually know which way it's going to go because unfortunately the poles are split evenly between Joel Gramfors and Luke Browning, the two of them having 3 poles apiece. But focusing here on GB4, it is that man in the middle that will be doing all of the work. Nicholas Taylor taking yet another win. Megan Jilks is standing by though with John Jackson.
Yeah, I'm here with Megan Jilks, and I believe it was 5th in the end, wasn't it, after that penalty? How was it out there for you? I mean, obviously you'd rather be up there on the podium and challenging, but what was holding you back?
For sure. Didn't quite know where my pace went from qualifying. The times dropped off quite a bit, but I'd imagine it dropped off for everyone, really. Had a bit of a mistake at the start with corner 2, just braked a little bit early, really, and didn't get it slowed down quite as much as I wanted to, and that let Sherwood by. And then I had a good scrap with my teammate Max in the end, but didn't quite get him. So yeah, it was close racing, as GB4 always provides, and I'm just super happy to be able to race this weekend. So thanks so much to Quattro for putting their support forward to help me to compete. Well,
I was going to say, obviously, it's great because obviously there are a lot of sponsors that enable all of the drivers to race, and you have got the Quattro logo on these overalls, and we've not seen you in these overalls before, and I was a little bit weirded out, and then I realised they're not actually your overalls. Why are you wearing your brother Nick Jilks' overalls, Megan?
So his sponsor, or one of his sponsors, MIR, are a race suit company, and they made a suit that was slightly too small for him, but fit me perfectly.
Lucky that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm still waiting for them to produce a Quattro suit for me, so I'll be hopefully wearing that at the next round at Silverstone.
Okay.
But in the meantime, this is a temporary fix.
Well, look, at least it's the same surname. At least it's not, Maserati. You wouldn't want to have Maserati on you. But we will bring in Max, and we'll say congratulations to Megan, 5th place today, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Max Maserati, we were just discussing, overalls, actually, because obviously Megan seems to be wearing her brother's overalls here. I've nicknamed you the Spearmint. Because we've got 2 tones of white, we've got the green there. It's kind of like like chewing gum. Is that? Would you go with that?
Or Tic Tacs.
The Tic Tac.
The Tic Tac.
Do you want to be known as Tic Tac? Anyway, let's talk about the race. You had a bit of a battle there with Megan, but I can tell you're not going to be happy.
No, we just seem to be struggling. Like, we should have gone with that top 3. Not sure what it is, but the team's great. I'm sure we'll figure it out overnight. We'll come back tomorrow. Just a bit of a hit, because obviously I think it was 4th in the end because someone had a penalty. But Taylor winning the race and us finishing 4th, that's a bit of a swing. That's giving him quite an advantage. So
now I need to talk to you because obviously we mentioned before Alex Walker, who is 3rd in the championship, isn't racing this weekend. There's some questions over his participation going forward. And now I would think that's good for you because obviously he is a championship contender along with you and Nicholas Taylor. But you were telling me earlier that maybe that's actually not good for you.
No, the more people in the championship, the better, because that point spread is separated. Will be over like 5 people or so. So you might have a bad, like if I finished 4th in that one, if there was 5 people in the championship, you might go, oh, I've lost 2 points to, say, Nick, you might finish 3rd instead of 1st or whatever it was. But so having Alex there was kind of a help because it meant we'd all take points off each other, so it kept it very close. But as you've seen from that, he's had a 1st, I've had a 4th, and suddenly it's like, we have to have that same result again, that same points again to catch that back up now.
It's tough, but I have faith in you, and I've let Megan talk about her sponsor. Are you selling your merchandise that we've talked about before?
We are, and you bought one.
I have. I also heard actually that one of the, I won't name him, but someone involved in the championship here has a little bet going with you that when you win your first race in GB4, he will be purchasing a cap.
He will be purchasing a cap. So hopefully that'll be later this weekend, but we'll see.
All right, fine. Max Maserati, if you want to search his, actually very stylish, because obviously now I've got a piece of it, from the Max Maserati collection, right?
I think it's Black Phoenix Apparel. That's what you got to go for.
But it's the Max Maserati collection.
Yeah, the Max Maserati collection.
Coming to a catwalk near you soon. Max Maserati finishing 4th there. Do they do aviators, we're being asked in my ear?
No, they don't do aviators. You have to buy them separately. Okay. On Amazon.
You're missing a huge opportunity with the aviators. Yeah. There we go. Max Maserati with Hill Speed. I'll let you carry on with your day. So that's pretty much it. I don't think we're going to find any more drivers. It's actually quite a spread out paddock here. I mean, I bring Piers Pryor in for that race there. It must be quite gutting as a driver in Tom Mills's position, where he was so close to Nicholas Taylor there, but just because of that one little error he made, and it's an error that we saw one of the Graham Brunton racing teams, Logan Hanna, she made that same mistake and jumped here as well, because of maybe being confused by the lights or whatever, but that tiny little mistake is setting back so far.
There's so many important things to put together to have a good race weekend. First one, quali, get that out of the way. He was happy, we spoke to him after qualifying, really happy with the 2nd and 3rd. They found a bit of pace in that Kevin Mills racing car, he found a bit of pace himself, he said as well.
Yeah.
Then the next thing, the start. We've seen in the GB3 race, Browning jumped ahead of Bramford at the start, so it's very important. Unfortunately, with the lights being held on for a long time, which I say a long time, it's a couple of seconds more than normal, which is well within the rules, then he just got a bit nervous and just jumped a bit early, and unfortunately that then cost him the podium that he deserved on his driving. But so one of those things where it's a small error that costs you a lot, but part of the learning experience and why they do these championships, because they are learning championships ultimately at the end of the day.
They are absolutely learning, and the Kevin Mills racing cars both doing very well today, and they both had new engines, we've heard, and it is something as simple as having a new engine. Is that going to give you that much of a push? Is it a case of those older engines weren't performing to their full function? I mean, talk to me about the mechanics of it.
So I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's a pooled engine system, so there's no new and old engines. I believe there's just a group of engines that are basically given out at random. They, in theory, are all the same.
So
but of course,
swap more.
Yeah, of course. In theory, they are all the same power because they're the same specification. They're all made in the same place. They're made by the same people. But all engineering components have a tolerance, which is basically every single component is made to within 1/1000th of a millimetre, one way or the other. Now all you've got to do is have 10 or 15 of those 1,000 components that are all within your favour and the tolerances, and you end up with one engine that's in theory the same, that has 5-6 more horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've got 160 horsepower, then that's then a percentage, and every time you put your foot on the accelerator, which is quite a lot of a lap round here, you end up going a bit quicker. So there is some differences, and I'm sure that the championship will iron out those differences, so everything will be
get out of the
closer,
way of a motor car.
Ultimately, the most important thing is still the driving. We know that the best drivers will always make their way to the front, but when you're fighting the margins of that fine that we've seen in qualifying, if you're looking for a half a tenth or two places, that could be the difference in the engine. But if you're driving a second off a pace, you're never going to be. An engine's never going to give you that much.
Oh, nearly got run over there. It's fine. Don't worry. I won't hold it against your hill speed. Right, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think we're going to find any more drivers. We're a little bit spread out in the paddock here. So we're just looking at the car there. Well, let's take a look at the championship standings. I don't know. Am I talking this one through, or is Lewis going to talk through this one? I'll do this one. Okay, right. So obviously Nicholas Taylor, as we mentioned there, just so dominant in terms of just being out the front pretty much from the start of the series here. I know you weren't here last time we were here, but he's just absolutely blown. I was watching. Blown things away.
Yeah, of course, Nicholas Taylor.
I mean, he's first in the championship there. With Max Maserati second. As we mentioned, Alex Walker, I mean, that's a tricky one, because Max Maserati there sort of saying that it's not actually a huge thing for him in terms of it being a perk, because it just spread out the points quite a lot, and that actually makes a lot of sense, because coming at it from, I was looking at it a purely competition point of view, not kind of statistics. So that is a little bit tricky one now, because say Nicholas Taylor wins again tomorrow, he could be just, you know, pushing miles ahead by the end of this weekend.
The way the points work, you get a slight points bonus effectively for winning a race, and if Nicholas Taylor carries on the way he has, he's going to be getting those bonus points in again, pole again tomorrow morning, so he'll be looking to have the same result tomorrow. Max Maserati, he will be glad that he's in second place. However, he would, I'm sure, as a race driver, you'd rather get there and earn it. Not that he hasn't earned it, with unfortunately Alex Walker not being here this weekend, there's less competition. We're just a couple of cars down on where we have been, which is a shame. All the drivers want big competitive grids. We've got that in GB3. GB4, I'm sure, will make it up there in the years to come, but it's the first year of the championship, and we've seen some amazing racing from this GB4 Championship. It's the first year, close racing, hard fighting, changing of position, championship battles, crashes, drama, reliability. It's had everything, so we're looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season plays out.
And the other thing is that you say some of the cars have dropped out. We've got Daryl De Leon and Danny Harrison, who they were involved a couple of rounds ago, but they're actually also doing other championships, and they're actually racing here as well. So it's kind of like they're not dipping out because it's not for them. It's more like they're actually wanting to be involved in it whilst doing other commitments.
If you're a racing driver, you'll race anything basically, and there, I believe Daryl especially, his main focus for this year was the championship he's doing, which is elsewhere, and he wanted to get a taste of GB4, and he loved it. Got a podium in his first race, which was amazing. So he's obviously enjoyed it, and there's talk of them coming back for some more rounds later this year, and potentially Team Valor coming back next year, maybe even. They've used the cars, they've shown they know what they're doing, so it'd be great to see them back, great to see Daryl De Leon and Danny Harrison back as well, and hopefully we'll see them at some of the other rounds coming up.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for the racing today. Of course, Sunday's a much bigger deal. We've got 4 races, 2 in the GB4, 2 in the GB3 Championship. It all starts very early in the morning at 9:30, I believe. Is it 9:30 we're going live? I think the first race is around 10 a.m. So we'll see you then as we bring you more from the GB4 and the GB3 Championship.